Hello, my name is Trevor Jones, and I'm here to talk to you today about demystifying broadband. This presentation was originally given to the Gray-New Gloucester Development Committee's annual business summit on February 4th, 2016, at the offices of Enercon in Gray. I was asked to kick off the meeting with a definition of what broadband is, but the truth is, even the industry doesn't know. Seriously, it depends on who you ask and when you ask them. As applied to internet access, broadband is a marketing term invented in the 90s by cable executives. It describes an internet service that is always on and faster than dial-up and has no precise meaning. Nature abhors a vacuum, so as broadband's importance has become more clear, many, especially in government, have sought to define it technically. The trouble is, broadband evolves over time as consumer and business needs and the underlying technologies evolve. As you can see, the industry largely defined broadband until 2009 when the government stepped in. Broadband has changed radically in just a few short years, and state and federal bodies have defined broadband differently. Looking at these definitions, the first question you may ask is, can we meet them? The short answer is yes. The vast majority of residents and businesses in Gray and New Gloucester have access to services that meet the federal standard from either OTT, our competitor, or both of us. And many businesses can obtain services that meet or exceed the state standard, which is really designed more for small business. So we can jump for joy, right? Gray and New Gloucester both have widely available broadband access from two providers that meet the current federal and state definitions. Well, maybe not. The current definitions have been shaped partly by what today's customers need and use, and partly by large companies that lobby to keep broadband economical to deliver. What we have, as a result, is a definition of broadband that is sufficient for most people now, but isn't future-proof over the long term. What we have, as a result, is a definition of broadband that can be delivered using networks that are still heavy in copper-based technology. At OTT Communications, we have to think about the next definition of broadband and how our network needs to grow and change to meet it. Let me show you what I mean. Today, most consumer broadband is delivered using a mixture of fiber and copper. In the telephone network, we use fiber to feed DSL equipment located in a neighborhood and copper phone lines to deliver services to customers. There are a number of technologies we use for this, but the predominant one we use today is ADSL 2+. In the cable TV network, they use fiber to feed a node located in a neighborhood and copper coaxial cable to deliver services to customers. This is called hybrid fiber coax. Both networks were designed to do something else, deliver phone service or provide broadcast TV, respectively, and use the DSL and HFC technologies to adapt them to broadband. Wireless networks also compete for broadband usage and offer the advantages of low cost, fast deployment, and mobility. But they have limited bandwidth and reliability issues, especially in poor weather or hilly terrain. We don't have any of those in Maine, right? An all-fiber network is ideally suited to delivering internet access and is future-proof. Today, science hasn't found the outer limits of fiber's capacity, and we don't know of a faster or more reliable technology. So, we're faced with a clear need to replace the aging copper infrastructure with an all-fiber network. Let's take a step back, though. Some of you may be wondering what all the fuss is about. It's okay if you are. You're not alone. I mean, isn't the internet just another way to watch TV, go shopping, and play games? All kidding aside, we wouldn't be here talking about this if it were just about those. Really, what makes broadband so important is that it creates economic opportunity, improves quality of life, and facilitates being more involved and aware citizens. So let's start off our discussion of economic opportunity with education. Jon Huntsman, former governor of Utah, ambassador to Singapore, said, "Economic opportunity and quality education are inexorably linked. High-speed internet access makes quality education accessible in areas and to people where it was never available before." So, whether we're talking about the middle school student using the internet to research a project, the college student accessing an online course in a topic their university doesn't offer, or the adult learner keeping their skills up to date working after hours, the internet plays a vital role in making education more accessible. One personal story is that one thing the internet has changed forever is my career, marketing. So at 40, I found myself in desperate need of updating my skill set in order to remain effective in my career. Online courses from the University of San Francisco allowed me to update my skills while staying busy as a marketing director, scout leader, husband, and father. The days of the Waltons, when grandparents lived with a family, are past, but overwhelmingly, people over 50 want to age in place and stay in their homes. Their children and caregivers want to keep their family safe, but struggle with caregiving in a busy lifestyle. It's true that I've fallen and I can't get up, med alerts are old technology, but what if sensors in your home could detect a fall, even if you're incapacitated? Or detect a refrigerator and appliance use so that caregivers know those under their care are eating well? Or dispense and monitor medication so that caregivers can monitor dosage? These and other technologies leverage broadband technology to keep people in their homes healthy and safe. In Rockport, Angus King said, "For the first time in history, people can work where they live instead of living where they work." Most people understand that broadband technologies can enable people in computer-based financial, marketing, customer contact, sales, and office-based jobs to work from home and live where they want to. But it can also help an individual who wants to start a woodworking business or other small manufacturing enterprise market and sell their goods around the world, and help musicians, artists, and writers share their content from the shores of Sabbath Day Lake. Even more vital to job creation in a local tax base, broadband helps the entrepreneur who decides to start his business at Pineland or here in Northbrook Business Park to connect customers and suppliers and export information around the globe. There are many other ways broadband benefits modern society. E-government allows citizens to obtain licenses, pay taxes, and exchange information with government and become more active participants in the community. Broadband helps access public safety information and helps officers anticipate and respond to emergencies. Broadband-enabled smart grid technologies allow power companies to distribute power more efficiently, reducing generation, emissions, and resource consumption, and much, much more. So you're probably thinking, wait a minute here. Broadband is changing all the time, changing faster every year. Broadband is really important and getting more important all the time. Existing networks are nearing the limits of their ability to deliver broadband services with real utility for customers. What do we do about it? More importantly, what are you doing about it, OTT? The first thing we'd like you to know is we haven't been idle in the 15 plus years since we first introduced DSL. In fact, we've deployed new technology to expand coverage or increase speed in Grey and New Gloucester 11 times in that stretch of time. Many of these projects have pushed fiber out closer to homes and businesses, and one deployed fiber to the premise at Pineland as early as 2004. In 2001, when I helped launch Secure Speed DSL, our network looked something like this. Just 3 central office locations on an island with limited fiber and limited coverage. Today, we're in 11 locations throughout the 2 towns and have radically expanded our fiber network, including dedicated transport to Portland and Lewiston. That red line you see, that is where we're introducing our first mixed-use fiber to the premise, fiber to the home network right now. We have 2 new faster DSL services coming out in March, a 25 meg service and a 40 meg service. These services use new DSL aggregation technology that combines multiple DSL connections into a single pipe. In addition, we're offering our new next speed fiber to the home, fiber to the premise service in select areas at speeds of 50 to 150 megabits per second, comparable to Verizon Fios. Today, we're taking on beta customers along Route 100. After the first few installs are complete, we'll offer it to everyone along this 2.5-mile stretch of 100. OTT has 3 additional fiber to the home projects planned for 2016. At least one of these is currently slated for Grey. This slide gives you an idea of what our high-speed internet coverage will look like in March when our new Secure Speed products are launched. Fiber coverage will be limited to 80 to 90 properties along Route 100, plus Pineland at that time. But this is just the beginning for us. These are our first steps toward building out a new fiber network for our home, Grey and New Gloucester. That said, we recognize that there is a vigorous discussion going on in Maine right now about whether or not companies like ours are moving fast enough to deploy advanced networks. Some communities have decided to take matters into their own hands and fund networks of their own. But the question is, what should Grey and New Gloucester do? And I'm not here to tell you, but I do have some thoughts on how you could approach the question. Having a clear understanding of the community's goals is a vital first step. For example, is your goal to do a targeted deployment in an economic development zone? Is your goal to connect unserved and underserved areas of town? Perhaps your goal is to provide Wi-Fi access in public areas. Maybe you've heard about gigabit service and are concerned that if your town doesn't offer gigabit internet and others do, you may not be able to attract business. Perhaps your goal is to have town-wide fiber to the home service. And then you have to ask yourself, how do each of these fit with my community's economic plan? Here are a few examples of current and planned projects in Maine and the related goals of the communities that undertook them. Most have not had a goal of serving the whole town, the exception being Islesboro, which had no cable service, much less DSL coverage than Grey and New Gloucester had, and no pending prospects for fiber network construction. As an island community, cottage industry is very important to Islesboro, and they believe that broadband is a life and death issue for their community. So let's say we want to upgrade the network to support economic growth in targeted zones, like New Gloucester's Upper Village or Route 26 between the bypass and Dry Mills. Chances are we could work with you to upgrade our network in those areas with minimal direct cost to the community. Instead, we'd want your help understanding exactly where growth will occur, identifying customers, and getting the word out to them. It's worth noting that these are places private companies like ours are most likely to see a return on investment from building a network. In this case, spending public dollars building it might deter a private company like OTT from investing. Another goal might be to invest in improving coverage in unserved and underserved parts of town. By this, I mean areas like the ones you see on this slide in northwestern New Gloucester or on the edge of Gray. Connect Me grants and other funds may be available to help fund these projects. Community support can be vital in identifying areas that need service, increasing adoption rates for the service through education, and getting the word out. Sometimes we hear towns want to offer public Wi-Fi in busy parts of town, such as parks, sports fields, shopping areas, and around municipal offices. We have significant network assets in these parts of town already. All that would need to be done is to add the Wi-Fi equipment. The other buzzword you may be hearing is gigabit internet. The fiber networks we're building will be capable of gigabit speeds, but to be honest, almost no residential customer today will use anything close to that much bandwidth. It's a marketing gimmick. That said, if having it available to the community is important, we can work with you to ensure that a plan is available. Lastly, let's say our goal is to have fiber everywhere. And that's our goal too. And we'll get there, but our capital constraints mean it will take years. So really, this is a decision to accelerate the process that we've started. It will require a large investment to do quickly. If the towns want to take it on, it would almost certainly need bonding, which may require that the town own the network and all of the issues that go along with that. We may also want to consider, is it an economic necessity for Gray and New Gloucester in the same way it was for Islesboro? And given how important adoption rates are to building a network, a public network may limit or exclude the construction of a new private one. So I'm nearing the end of my presentation, but I wanted to leave you with some reminders of some of these important things we'd like you to take away from the discussion today. Broadband is changing all the time. Broadband is very important to modern society. OTT Communications is continually working to expand and improve broadband in Gray and New Gloucester. We can be most effective at improving broadband service in our communities by working together. Public investment should be made with care based upon defined community goals. Thank you very much for your time. Please follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter and like us on Facebook.